Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA, episode 186. I am Brendan. UFC 280 prelims. We're going to go over the prelims here. If you're looking for the main card, including the main event, that's in the last video. This one's going to cover Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady, Borralho versus Makhmud, Muradov, Nikita, Krylov, Volkan, Oezdemir, and the rest of the prelims here. So before we get started, real quick, if you like MMA, you like podcasts about MMA, you like talking and breaking down fights, I do all that stuff here. I put out 2 or 3 videos every week covering varied MMA organizations, UFC, Bellator, PFL, 1FC, that kind of stuff. So subscribe to the channel so you know when the next video is coming out. Appreciate y'all for stopping by. Let's get into the fights. If you are looking for a specific fight or a breakdown of a specific fight, timestamps are down below so you can click there. I started doing that on all of my videos and not just the main cards. So, Belal Muhammad getting the TKO finish in the second round here against Sean Brady. What a fight. What a performance. But from both men, to be honest, but Belal Muhammad's pressure just did the damn thing. Let's get into it, and I want to spend maybe a little bit more time. Yesterday, when I went over kind of the disrespect that Beneil Dariush has received in the lightweight division, I think a lot of that is mirrored here. Maybe not disrespect, maybe just being overlooked or whatever. I think Belal Muhammad has a lot of the same things going on here. The slightly different story for him, but not really, because it should be the same result in my opinion. Let's get to the fight first and let's talk about what actually happened. So Belal was pressuring forward almost immediately. He took the center of the octagon. He pushed Brady against the cage. He made him fight off the back foot the entire fight, right? A majority of this fight was with Muhammad moving forward. You're going to look at, oh man, in the stats here, there's nothing to really show you. I really wish they had octagon control or who controlled the center of the octagon more, but it was Muhammad about 99% of the time. So leading into this fight, obviously we know that Sean Brady is an excellent grappler, very strong in the grappling, able to out-grapple people like freaking Michael Chiesa. Crazy grappler. He's strong. He hits hard. And we know he's a formidable opponent. And in fact, I think before this weekend, he was ranked number 8. This guy is no scrub. He was undefeated coming in here. He's been tested by some of the better guys in this welterweight division. It was a hard test for Muhammad, okay? Maybe not the hardest one he's faced so far, but a hard test. And then you got Belal Muhammad, who is a volume striker who tends to break people down with using his cardio. And then, you know, he might get criticized for doing this, but he often takes a path of least resistance, ensuring himself a victory. Now, you might not like the way that looks, you know, with him out-wrestling Stephen Wonderboy Thompson or putting pressure on Vicente Luque and trying to wrestle with him. Do you know what I mean? There's moments like that where people will say, oh, hey, this is boring. I don't want to see this stuff. You are entitled to your opinion. This is an entertainment product, and if you are not entertained by what he is presenting you, by the product that he is presenting you, I completely understand, and I'm not going to criticize you for that. So, with that aside, Muhammad pressed forward, defended against takedowns. He was not taken down a single time. Sean Brady attempted 5 in this fight and didn't get a single one. Belal was landing a little bit in this first round, but Brady just seemed to add just one more extra shot. And the striking numbers don't bear that out. You know, it shows that Belal Muhammad actually outstruck him 26-25. And that was because at the very end here. So Belal ended the round really well, pressuring, his pressure really started to take effect on Brady. I leaned towards Brady with the damage because I felt like even though he was moving backwards and he did technically get outstruck because that last little flurry by Muhammad landing some decent shots, I felt that Brady landed more damage in that first round. So I gave that first round to Brady 10-9. It was close, and obviously you look at the striking numbers. Like I said, you see it here. It's freaking 26-25. That's as close as you can get without being identical. And if you gave that first round to Muhammad, maybe because of the pressure, you felt like he didn't take the big shots from Brady that I thought he took, then maybe. I gave that first round to Brady. But I also wrote down right after that round, I was like, this will be interesting if Belal can keep this pressure because Brady might start to wilt a little bit. This should have been a 5-round fight. I wrote this down before it ended, obviously. I was like, this should be a 5-round fight because these guys are essentially angling for a title shot, right? Especially in Belal's case. These guys are angling for a title shot. Obviously, Brady being undefeated gives him an extra boost as far as his credentials. Being an undefeated fighter, fighting in the top 5 means you have some extra extra promotional power behind you, because you can sell that. You are undefeated. That is a big feather in your cap, and if you can go into a title shot undefeated, it makes for a better headline. So they are fighting for a title shot, in my opinion. Right? This wasn't a number 1 contender eliminator or anything like that, or a number 1 contender fight, because we have a little bit of a mess. Not a mess, but most likely, Kamaru Usman's going to be fighting Leon Edwards again. He deserves that rematch. But the second round, and that's why, sorry, I've said this before, so forgive me if you've heard me say this, but I'll keep it really short. If you are going to fight for a title, or you're fighting in a fight that essentially could set you up for being next in line for the title, it should be a 5-round fight more often than not. It doesn't have to be every time. I understand with scheduling and main events, and you have to make it a main event to make it a fight. Well, no, you don't, but it should be a 5-round fight, because a title shot is 5 rounds. And I've made this argument before, where you could have a guy who consistently wins over 3 rounds, but he's not a good 5-round fighter, and then he will get a title shot essentially never having to fight 5 rounds before he gets that title shot. And then he might be a really good matchup against the current champion, and he essentially has skipped over his biggest challenge by fighting other guys in 5 rounds and fighting for the title against a guy he matches up well against. All right, so there's a little bit of luck in there, timing, and all those other things. But that's why I think this should have been a 5-round fight. Brady accepted the back foot again almost immediately in the second round, but then he started to try and pressure forward, but he just couldn't keep the pressure on because Muhammad would not stop. He hit Muhammad with some really good shots in this round, and Muhammad just kept moving forward. Brady was able to land these left hooks and kicks to the body almost at will when Muhammad was moving in, but it didn't matter. Muhammad just kept moving. Brady's nose started to leak a bit and Belal's pressure really started to take effect about halfway through the second round. And it took effect kind of in the last minute of that first round. And then now with 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you could kind of tell that Brady was feeling the effects of constantly being on the back foot. Brady's shots looking labored now, like when he was going for these takedown attempts. I think he attempted 3 in this round. He did. They were labored. They didn't look like they were smooth. He didn't set them up well. It's not like he set the first 2 up in that first round well either. Muhammad shucked them off almost immediately. And then Belal lands a huge right hand that stunned Brady, and the volume is landing. He just unloaded. He got the TKO finish. I don't know about the finish. I want to talk about that in a second. But Belal did an amazing job out there with the pressure. Man, it looked like it was coming if you looked at the end of that first round. Right? If Brady didn't make a real big change or get a takedown, it looked like that was going to be inevitable. And that's kind of what I was feeling, and that's why I wrote that down. Another thing that Belal did really well that shows his experience level and his veteran mindset, being in that cage and having a lot of cage time at this point, is disengaging when you got a guy hurt, but not allowing them to recover. So many guys make this mistake, right? They get overly excited and they rush in, and now they get clinched up or taken down. Or they'll, sometimes you'll hear what I feel is a misrepresentation of being patient. I think it's kind of stupid. So what will happen is if you get a guy hurt, right? If you get a guy hurt, or this fighter gets a guy hurt, and then that guy backs up to the edge of the cage, he'll disengage completely, allowing that guy to move off the cage again, and then doesn't re-engage immediately. Basically saying, oh, look, he's showing patience and a good mindset because now he can't get caught in a firefight and then take a big shot coming back at him. Sometimes that's warranted, and I agree with that, but usually you got to stay in that mid-range. You got to stay just outside of clinch range, poke, 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 land a big shot, poke, 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 land a big shot. Land a couple big shots when you got him hurt. But you can't disengage completely, because then you can't land either, right? You can wait for him to swing wildly. You can do that stuff and keep your defense tight. And that's exactly what Muhammad did. He disengaged just enough when you saw Brady was going for a clinch, and then he re-engaged immediately, not letting him breathe, not letting him recover, and Muhammad just poured it on him, and got the TKO finish. Now, talk about the finish. Again, if you've heard me talk about this before, I apologize, and I'll keep this short because I don't think this was that bad. I'm a big fan of a definitive end, right? I'm a big fan of saying, okay, the fight was over. Clearly, this guy won. In this case, obviously, Muhammad was winning. He was on his way to a finish. Could Brady have landed another big shot if the fight were allowed to continue? Absolutely. Could he have landed a takedown? Absolutely. Based off what we saw, did you think that either one of those was likely to happen? Probably not. But it wasn't quite definitive enough for me. And Brady still had the wherewithal to keep his defense and move, but the ref kind of stepped in just prematurely. I think like one more good exchange from Muhammad would have put a stamp on this and there'd be no controversy. I think, Brady has a right here to say, hey, it got stopped early. It's kind of saving face a little bit for him. But like I said, this was not egregious. It wasn't a super early stoppage. It just wasn't perfect, right? And I think it's okay not to criticize the stoppage, but to analyze it and go over it without being a turd and saying like, "Oh, this ref sucks" or "he fucked up." It's a hard job. I understand. It's hard. You're not always going to be perfect in there, making the right decision, making the right stoppage. You might see something where a guy doesn't look like he's defending himself, but it turns out he was, and he's got his wits about him. You can make mistakes in there. I don't think this one was that bad. I think it was a decent stoppage. Now, let's talk about what I called the disrespect. You want to use a different word for that, being overlooked, or a different phrase for that, that's fine. Belal Muhammad before this weekend was ranked number 5. He previously beat Stephen Thompson and Vicente Luque, who at the time, Vicente Luque was ranked above Muhammad, I believe, and same with Stephen Thompson. Sean Brady was ranked number 8 before this weekend, and Muhammad took that fight instead of fighting Burns or Chimaev or Covington, who won't fight anybody, right? So let's just go over his win streak, because it's 8 in a row, because this was a no contest when he got poked in the eye and couldn't see by Leon Edwards. Curtis Millender, who no longer fights in the UFC, is an okay win. Takashi Sato, fine. I mean, he lost he's really, look at his losses. Alan Jouban in his UFC debut, okay. Vicente Luque, which he managed to come back and avenge that loss. He beat Randy Brown, Jordan Mean, Tim Means back in the day in 2017. That's a good win. This win's not that great. A loss to Jeff Neal, a legitimate loss to Jeff Neal, just couldn't put it together. Cool. Curtis Millender, decent win, not great. Takashi Sato, that's an okay win. Lyman, good. Diego Lima, loses to Leon Edwards. Gets a no contest to Leon Edwards, right? So it doesn't count as a loss. Then he beats Damian Maia, which in the way he beat him after Damian Maia, that's a convincing win. I understand. Damian Maia is not an easy out for anybody. He really isn't. Even if you make it look easy, it's not. He's always dangerous. If you go into these grappling exchanges, you can really have a problem. I mean, he makes so many people look bad. He has like some of the worst title fights in history because people don't want to engage with him. Destroys Stephen Thompson, which kills me a little bit. I love Wonder Boy, and you guys know that if you know me. Has a competitive fight against Vicente Luque, in which he got rocked pretty bad, but he did enough in the rounds that mattered. He just wore on Luque enough and did enough. He won that fight. There was no two ways about it. He won that fucking fight, and he was ranked above him. Then he beat Sean Brady. This right here, this resume puts him next in line for the title shot, right? I mean, who do you got? You got Colby Covington, who hasn't fought, I believe, since he lost to, so he beat Masvidal in the grudge match thing. You got Kamaru Usman, who's likely, going to get the rematch against Leon Edwards because of his dominant reign and the way he led up to it and how that fight ended, right? It's not like the title shot, it's not like the Charles Oliveira fight. Kamaru Usman was not dominated. He did not get finished and dominated in all aspects of MMA. He was essentially winning the fight and got caught by a kick. Great kick. Leon Edwards never quit on himself, and he got the win. Absolutely definitive, good win for him, but Kamaru Usman does deserve a rematch. Khamzat Chimaev couldn't make weight for his last fight. They changed the freaking division around, or that card around to allow him to fight. He was supposed to fight freaking Nate Diaz for a payday and excitement. So, and he ends up not fighting him, and he fights. Oh wait, yeah, he fought at I don't think it was technically middleweight. Anyway, oh gosh, his name's escaping me, but it doesn't matter. It's a guy I really like. Yes, Holland. Anyway, so I leading up to that, he did beat Gilbert Burns in a fun fight, so that deserves, he could be seeing him. I think if Leon Edwards had lost that and Usman had won that fight, Chimaev should be fighting for the title next. So, he also he's next in line, right, for the title. But he's not anymore. He's not anymore. It's going to be Usman. Like I said, Muhammad should be next in line. So you have a lot of guys here, kind of a little bit of a logjam, guys who definitely deserve the title shot. So Muhammad could take on Burns. I don't think he needs to. He could take on Covington, but Covington doesn't seem to want to fight anybody. He could fight Chimaev, but he called out Leon Edwards. You know what? This division's kind of turned into a little bit of a mess just because of the Usman loss. It's fine, this happens, but I definitely think he is deserving of a title shot. And like I said in my last video, if you thought Charles Oliveira deserved the title shot based off of his resume leading up to the title, then you should absolutely think that Beneil Dariush deserves a title shot, and I think the same applies here, right? The same thing applies here. Belal Muhammad deserves a title shot. Whether or not he gets it depends on a lot of other factors, but he deserves to be in the conversation for a title shot. All right. Let's talk about a really boring and weird fight here that happened. It just not the best fight. So Caio Borralho versus Makhmud Muradov. This one was weird. Borralho got a takedown, didn't do much damage with it in the first round, and then loses position. So this was kind of strange. The real problem I have with this is actually the final scorecards. I think they were shit. I don't disagree with the decision necessarily. I understand it, but this first round, Borralho had a takedown and control, and he controlled for 1:36, but he ends up getting reversed, and Muradov got on top, landing really good damage, and then Borralho fish hooks his mouth at the end of the round, but the ref didn't see it, so whatever. Back and forth round on the feet. It was close on the ground. Muradov did more damage when he was on top, and I leaned towards Muradov, but if you look at the striking numbers, I guess I was way off. Borralho 13-7 as far as significant strikes, and he was landing some decent leg kicks in there, and I just didn't feel like his strikes on the ground were as significant as Muradov's. Muradov did land a big overhand right when he was on the ground, and the control time was almost even. And here's why. Okay, so this is why I felt that Muradov did more damage, is he did have more total strikes, right? 25 instead of 17. So I guess they weren't counted as significant. Maybe I was wrong. I saw Muradov winning that round, so I had a 10-9 for him, but I understand if it was that was a close round. I understand the gut reaction to give Borralho that round, but if you look at the numbers here, right, the control time and the total strikes, even though they're not counted as significant, some of those ones from Borralho weren't as significant as I would think that some of the ones from Muradov were. Close round, if you gave that to Borralho, I'm okay with it. Second round, Borralho went for a guillotine, gets on top, but then got reversed again. Muradov on top for most of the round, not much damage, but nothing came back at him either. I had him winning that round 10-9. You want to look at the striking numbers, 1-1. Not a whole lot of action when it came to that. The grappling wasn't very active. It was a lot of stalling, sitting on top. He really didn't do anything. He didn't really land any damage on the ground either, so I don't know. He had 2 minutes and 45 seconds of control time. I don't understand how he doesn't win this round, to be honest. If the striking numbers are the same, the damage is the same, the submission attempt wasn't there, and there was a ton of control for Muradov. So I don't understand how you give that to Borralho. And then in the last round, Muradov actually outlanded him 6-5, but the control time went the other direction. So Borralho sat on top, essentially landed nothing. He landed 2 shots while he was on top. Didn't really go for any crazy submission attempts, but I did give him that last round. So if you gave it 29-28 for Borralho, I understand off that first round. I leaned towards Muradov, and I understand I might be in the minority on that one. I understand it. Second round absolutely was Muradov's. Not a kind of round I like. I don't like that kind of winning. I think it's garbage when you sit on top like that. I'm not a fan of that shit, but based off of the criteria, he should be winning that round. And now we go to the scorecards. 2 judges gave it 30-27. Camijo and Pualio or Lilo. I'm guessing it's Leo. What fight were they watching? What second round were they watching? People are up in arms about that controversial decision with Sugar Sean O'Malley getting the win against Petr Yan. Guys, that fight was close, and that first round was the deciding round, and there was an argument to be made for Sean O'Malley. That's not how I scored it. I scored it for Yan. Right? I'm in the majority with all the guys, with all the people on Twitter and the commentary team. I'm in the majority in how I see it. But I can understand how someone would score that first round for O'Malley. I cannot, for the life of me, see how you could score that second round for Borralho. He didn't fucking do anything. He was on his back for 2 minutes and 45 seconds. He did nothing. And Muradov did nothing. But he was on top. He had the control time. Everybody wants to bitch about how, grapplers don't get credit for being in control. When nothing else happens, that's what you have to go to, and that's exactly what this was. You want to say his fucking submission attempts were anything. They weren't. He had 1 submission attempt, and it was a nothing. He went for a guillotine and got reversed. He lost position because he went for a guillotine that wasn't close. Guys, this is where you guys need to be in an uproar. I understand it's on the prelims, and they got the decision right in most people's eyes. I understand that. This is where you need to call people to the fucking mat. You can't let this stuff slide by just because you agree with the final decision. That's fucking awful. That is worse than the Sean O'Malley one. Just because you don't agree with the final decision doesn't make it a worse decision or a worse scorecard than this shit. That's unacceptable. Holy crap, that's bad. God, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I mentioned it when I was talking about that one. Nobody talks about these because everybody agrees with the final decision. But when you see that shit, when you see a round where somebody gets it so wrong, you got to call it out. All right. Nikita. Nikita Krylov taking on Volkan Oezdemir. First round was fun. Action. Second round had its moments, but this turned in kind of a stinker at the end there. Nikita Krylov essentially grappling his way to a victory. A good win for him, absolutely. Oezdemir just looked exhausted. So Volkan landed some really big hooks early, rocking Krylov. So Krylov started going for takedowns in this first round. Oezdemir turned himself into a takedown like an absolute ding-dong, right? He was off to the left, so Krylov's body was on the lead leg, so the left leg of Oezdemir, and the way you circle off of that is by turning around, so getting their body over here, so you're creating separation and you're angling off. So instead of that, Oezdemir circles back this way into it and allows both of his legs to get grabbed for a double leg takedown. Just absolute dingus. So stupid. Krylov actually rocked Volkan moving backwards and got the back going for rear naked choke, and then they got back up. Oezdemir pushed him down and landed some really good ground and pound when he was on top. First round was really close. Damage was really close. You look at the striking numbers, 27-26. Very close. I lean towards Volkan Oezdemir because he rocked him more than once, especially in that first exchange. The submission attempt from Krylov was momentary, and it was followed up by getting ground and pounded. So, Krylov did hurt Oezdemir. It was a close round, and if you gave him that round, I understand. So this isn't a bad call right here, obviously, with Leatherby giving it 30-27. I'm okay with that. I am. This first round was really close. I leaned towards Oezdemir because I felt like the damage he dealt early in that put him out in front, and then Krylov was playing catch-up, and he just, the way the round ended with Oezdemir landing some decent damage, was able to keep him out in front. Second round started with chaos. Nikita landing high kicks. Like I said, it started out exciting. Total striking numbers 11-11. But Krylov landed a 5-piece combo, got another takedown, spent the rest of the round on top. So the second round, he had almost 3.5 minutes of control time, and that was an easy round for him. So I had it 19-19 going into the third. Oezdemir looked real tired. Krylov thrown at will. Really nothing coming back at him. You could see here in the striking numbers, 20-4 in favor of Krylov. One-way domination in this last round. I had Krylov winning this fight 29-28. Oezdemir's had his time. He had his time, but he's turned into a lower-level fighter, kind of a bit of a journeyman with the guys that he's fighting. I understand that his losses to some of the best in the division. I mean, his losses are to Daniel Cormier back in 2018 for the title. You know, there's no shame in that one. To Anthony Smith, you know, title challenger, Dominic Reyes, title challenger, beating Ilir Latifi, beating Rakic, losing to Prochazka, the current champion, losing to Ankalaev, who's angling for a title shot, beating Paul Craig, stopping that hype train, and then losing to Krylov. So, Krylov, it's a back and forth career for him. It seems like it's the highest level. He just can't get it done, and it's understandable. Krylov is a bit of the same. You know, it depends on the matchup and who he's facing, but when he steps up to the highest level, you're seeing, like, you know, he's got losses to Serkinov back in 2016, Blachowicz, you know, the former champion, but he could beat OSP, and then he loses to Glover Teixeira, former champion. He wins against Johnny Walker, then loses to Ankalaev, Paul Craig, beats Gustafsson, which is a nothing for me. But anyway, it's both these guys I think this was good matchmaking. They're both at about a similar place as far as their talent level and their career and kind of, you know, who they fall apart on. And it turns out that, you know, especially the way the fight started out, you know, it was fun, but Krylov he's just he did enough to get it done, and he's just a harder matchup for Oezdemir. And I've never been high on Oezdemir. I always felt like he had a ton of holes in his game, and it's really starting to add up near the end of what I consider more towards the end of his UFC career here. Okie dokie. Abubakar Nurmagomedov versus Gadzhi Omargadzhiev. Oh, man. Oh, this one. It's just the names. The names are something else. There's just a lot of letters. That's all it is. I mean, I can pronounce them fine, but they're just a lot of letters. Both these guys are of the Russian variety. Abubakar went for a takedown and ended up getting caught in a forward pressure guillotine. So normally you see a guy defend a takedown attempt by trying to lock up a guillotine and leaning backwards and almost pulling guard. But Gadzhi actually went for the guillotine and pressured forward himself, right? Stopping the takedown, in fact, angling to get mount, you know. So Nurmagomedov had to defend that pretty well, and then when he got up, he took a knee. It took a knee to the face. Gadzhi level changes, got a beautiful takedown, then dove on a guillotine again, but he lost position this time. Not much action on the ground for Abubakar, just control time, no damage, but Gadzhi didn't do much either. You want to look at the striking numbers, 13-7 in favor of Gadzhi. I leaned, when I saw this, and when I was watching live, I leaned towards Abubakar, and I don't know why. He did have 3 minutes of control time as opposed to the 30 seconds, and going by how I normally judge these, which is the scoring criteria, I probably should have gone with Gadzhi. Maybe I was jaded from watching previous ones or something. Something was up. So yeah, Gadzhi probably won this round. I think I scored that one wrong when I scored it live. I really do. I'll admit that. Abubakar has the Dagestani position in the second round. This is some fucking controversy here, and this actually should have changed the outcome of the fight and would have changed the outcome of the fight. So Abubakar has a Dagestani position, right, where the guy's against the cage and he's got a body lock and he's you can land punches and knees to the body. Well, he need Gadzhi to the head. That's illegal because Gadzhi was down. This was not as bad as the one earlier on the card, which we will get into, but it's still an illegal shot and it was thrown intentionally. The ref, who took a point in an earlier fight, did not take a point here. That's fucking crap, right? Intent is irrelevant. What's important is the effect on the fight. Okay? I always say that. Intent is important afterwards to decide punishment. But in the moment, you have to go with effect. And because it's an illegal strike to a downed opponent, there's no question. You just got to take a point. Right? You just got to take a point. It doesn't matter how bad it is or how it doesn't matter. You got to take a point. So, because of that, there was no point taken. Nurmagomedov actually grabbed the fence to help get out of a knee bar. The knee bar wasn't deep or anything, but he grabbed a fence. It was a really good grappling round with Nurmagomedov getting the better of it despite the cheating. 9-5 as far as the striking numbers and for Gadzhi, but just so much control time on top, and he did do a little bit of damage, and there were moments. I gave that round because I don't feel like Gadzhi did enough damage to outweigh being on his back so much. But what I will tell you is there should have been a point deduction. There should have been a 9-9 round, and that does play into the final score. So in this last round, Nurmagomedov landed an inside low kick that kind of messed with the left leg of Gadzhi, and he wasn't moving right anymore. He actually switched stance. The commentary team didn't notice it and didn't mention it, but it did bother him, and then he noticed his movement started to stagger. He wasn't able to apply power on his punches anymore, and there was more stand-up in this last round with both guys landing their shots, but Nurmagomedov just landed way more. 28-16, did more damage, clearly his round. Now, let's go to the scorecards, shall we? Two of the scorecards were 29-28 in favor of Nurmagomedov. Remember what I said? That point deduction does play into the final score. This should have been a majority draw because he got away with an illegal shot and he cheated, right? He cheated. So with grabbing the fence. That's neither here nor there. That's in addition to also fucking hitting him in the head or kneeing him in the head when he was on the ground. So it's kind of upsetting, right? Clearly Nurmagomedov was the better fighter and he wins this fight, right? Like he was winning the fight and blah, blah, blah. But he did something illegal and he was not punished for it. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. This is worse than when someone grabs a fence and they don't take a point. I think it's all bad, but this is worse. Fucking garbage. And that actually gave him the win. It gave him the win for that. Because they didn't call it. All right, let's go to a fun striking match. It was more of a technical striking match with just the guy who was better at striking, getting the damn thing done. Armen Petrosyan taking on AJ Dobson. Good fight. But this is one of those striking ones where it was a technical striking match with a guy just throwing a lot of volume out there, landing good shots, in Petrosyan doing the damn thing, getting the decision. So Armen was landing well, really like with his low kicks. Dobson was trying to counter with right hands when the kick came in. And that's kind of the problem in the story of the fight, not the low kick, but is the countering. So Dobson was always waiting for Petrosyan to do something. Armen landed more in this first round, easily out-damaging, getting that first round 10-9, 35-15 as far as striking numbers go in favor of Petrosyan. Second round here, more of the same, 40-20 in favor of Petrosyan. Armen was seemingly landing whatever he wanted now when he's at his range, and Dobson was not able to keep up. Something seemed wrong with Armen's knee at some point, but it didn't bug him that much. Dobson just doesn't have enough output, and he's just getting outpointed. I had the final score 30-27, 43-23 this last round as far as striking numbers. Dobson has a lot of really good skills and qualities, and it didn't seem like he took a lot of damage like from any big shots. And he landed some good shots of his own, obviously landing 15, 20, and 23 shots respectively in round 1, 2, and 3. It's not like he did bad. It's just that he didn't grapple. He didn't change it up enough. And, he would land one shot and Petrosyan would land two. He would wait to counter Petrosyan who, like, Petrosyan would land a shot, or he would go in to land a shot, and Dobson would, he might land a counter, but then Petrosyan would follow up and land one himself. So, anytime Dobson's landing one, Petrosyan's at least landing one, and he's usually landing more. And, it bears out in the striking numbers, doubling him up in the second round, almost doubling, 1.5 in the first round. It's just, he just did enough. It just did more than him, did more work. And that's what got him the win. Petrosyan's a good fighter. He is. It's just, he has a weakness on the ground, and Dobson did not take advantage of that. He did not exploit that enough, if at all. I think he only attempted one takedown. Not enough, man. All right, let's talk about this hype train, shall we? I'm not a fan of this. I hate when the UFC tells me who a fighter is supposed to, like, how good a fighter is supposed to be. Mokaev versus Malcolm Gordon. Fun fight while it was going on. Mokaev ends up getting the finish in the last round here in a fight that he was probably going to win anyway. There were hard left kicks from Mokaev. Mokaev got the takedown. Gordon got up and then avoids the submissions. Gordon, too content to try and work off his back, gave that first round away, in my opinion. Mokaev outstruck him 12-3, but really it was a control time. So 4 minutes and 20 seconds of control time in that first round. Gordon just was too content to play off his back. He was going for submissions, but you can't do that for that long. You're just going to give the fight away. Mokaev talking shit and showboating as he got hit with a two-piece combo. So that was fun. And then he ended up going for a takedown after getting tagged twice. Gordon was able to reverse position and got on top with 60 seconds left and landed a few right hands while Mokaev attempted a triangle. Gordon ended the round on the back, cinching up a rear naked choke that was really tight, but there was like 3 seconds left when he was going for it. It was a little too late. It was too little too late. In my opinion, Mokaev got that round as well. 3 minutes of control time, outstriking him 9-6, doing enough damage in my opinion. That's fine. Malcolm Gordon, he made his play just too late in that round. And then in this last round here, Mokaev is. I made a note. Mokaev is not ready for the upper level of this division for sure. So let's slow that fucking hype train down. They gave him a tailor-made matchup here in Gordon, somebody who can't stop a takedown to save his life, who is a little active off the ground, and his striking is okay. But they put him in there to get a win, a tailor-made win. Mokaev is very vocal about being the youngest champion in UFC history, and he's currently 22, so he has a couple years to do it, to take that record away from John Jones. He is not ready yet. He can make leaps and bounds. He can advance leaps and bounds in the next couple of years, so he can get there, and he has a lot of really good raw talent. But Mokaev ends up getting the armbar finish with 30 seconds left, but I am not high on him as being like the next big shit, right? He has a lot of holes in his game, and the fact that he had so many problems against Gordon here, it shows his lack of experience, his lack of discipline, and his overzealous nature getting him in trouble, in my opinion. So, it's not like the kid isn't good. He is. It's just let's slow down the hype train a little bit. He still has plenty of time to get that record from John Jones. All right, Karol Rosa versus Lina Lansberg. All right, this one is fucking fun. Hard kicks and swinging big for Rosa. Lina Lansberg landed a right hand right on the nose, taking off balance early in the fight. Rosa ends up winning this via majority decision. Rosa got her to the ground after some clinch work. This fight has very little action, but Rosa did take that first round. You look at the striking number, 7-6 in favor of Lansberg, but the damage went to Rosa, in my opinion, and the control time was 3 minutes for Rosa. Not enough from Lansberg. Second round, Rosa got the takedown and then sat on top for 3.5 minutes, then played half up, half down bullshit. I hate that stuff, where the fighter's on their back and the other person's standing up, standing over them, kicking or not kicking and pretending to go in, and the referee doesn't stand them both up. That's not a good position. You have to engage. If you're not going to engage, you back up and the fighter gets up. You can't half in, half out. I hate that shit. It's people abuse it. It needs to be looked at again. A rule needs to be put in place. You can't have this. Fighters are abusing this position and they're stalling because they're not doing anything. They might be looking for an entry. They might be looking to strike, but that's stalling. Okay, they would get the same treatment if they were both standing and neither one of them was doing anything, because that's essentially what's happening. You would get the exact same treatment. You would get warned for lack of action. But Rosa lets her up, and then Lina goes against the cage, and she's got her knees, both of her knees down, brings one knee up, but she's still down, and then Rosa immediately goes for a knee to the face. Fucking stupid. That's stupid. It's stupid. It's dumb. She's an idiot. The fact that she did that at all was horrendous. It's not even risky. Like, the risk versus reward, right? What's the reward? You might land a good knee and possibly get the finish, but you most likely, especially at this, like, do you think she's going to end that fight with one knee like that? But the risk is the fight ends the other way. Like, so it's too extreme. Get control of her head, lift her body up, forcing her off of the ground, and then knee her if you want to do that. You can't rush in like that and try to time it. It's such a risky maneuver. It was just stupid because she didn't even wait. She just immediately went for the knee, trying to anticipate Lansberg standing up. Fucking horrible. Point deduction was made by the same referee who refused to take a point against Nurmagomedov for essentially the same thing. I think that's bullshit. Whatever. This was a 9-9 round. I had it 19-18. All right. I had it 19-18. And then boring clinch work in this last round. Then Rosa separates to throw sloppy bullshit, lunges forward for more clinch work. This fight was not good. This fight was real bad. She ends up outlanding her 33-25 in this last round, obviously winning the last round. I had it scored 29-27. Somebody gave Lansberg, I'm guessing, the last round, sure, to give her the draw. I don't agree with that at all. I think, despite me not liking Rosa's stupidity and abilities, she did win this fight. All right. That is it for the prelims. If you're looking for the main event, including like the main card, including the rest of the main event, that's in the last video. I did cover the ONE FC event with John Lineker getting kicked in the nuts. I covered it in the video before that. So if this is the only video you're watching, I appreciate y'all. I really mean it. It means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and spending time here. If you made it all the way to the end, please subscribe to the channel. You'll like all the stuff I put out. 2 or 3 videos every single week doing this kind of stuff, breaking down fights, going round by round, talking about controversies and trying to understand horrible decisions. Appreciate y'all. Have an amazing week. I love y'all.